this presentation at Konline 2022. I'm here to talk a little bit about the Portuguese speculative fiction. I have a short presentation, so you don't have only to look at my face. I hope you are seeing it. So I'm Carlos Silva. I'm a Portuguese author, and basically I like to tell stories. You have my website. You can look at what I've done, but in a little summary. So mainly I write short stories that are included in anthologies. There are some of the anthologies I've participated on. We have here Lisbon no ano 2000. That is a retro-futuristic anthology, which means we are writing, imagining that we are authors in the beginning of the 19th century, imagining how would the future be. And it was really interesting to do this anthology because we all the authors participating, we did some research of what the people of the beginning of this millennia or century, in the last century, thought what the future would be. They were talking about flying cars. They were talking about meeting at a distance like we are now. And it's really interesting to see how our ancestors or our grandparents thought the future would be. Some other anthologies that I would like to talk about is Proxy, a cyberpunk anthology. That is not a very common theme in Portugal. Comandante Serralves. It's a very interesting project. It's a multimedia project that has a graphic novel, it has short stories, it had music, illustration, and the idea was to several authors to write stories inside this universe, this shared universe of Comandante Serralves. And another one that I would like to talk about is Contos do Saco Untos. This is a Spanish anthology and is based on a real story about a serial killer in the north of Spain that was brought to be judged because of all the people he has killed. And then during that judgment, he revealed that, oh, I only killed that people because I was a werewolf. Another interesting thing about this character, that is a real character, is that when he was born, he was registered as a female, and after, when he went puberty, his registers changed, and he was registered as a male. So some historians think that he might be an intersex person. So he was born with ambiguous genitalia, and the doctors assign female at birth, but then after he starts to grow beard and other characteristics, and they change his sex in the register. That is also pretty uncommon for the beginning of the 19th century. But I also have one novel published. Many people say that is the first Portuguese solar punk novel. I like to think it's just sci-fi. I don't think it's solar punk, but that's a discussion for other day. And I also had a short script filmed. It's a short horror movie about the return of a Portuguese king who disappeared in battle. So I pick up a Portuguese myth about a king that went to battle. That's historical, and he disappeared in battle. Probably he was dead, but because of the time, there was the danger of the Spanish king to say, "Oh, if there's no king in Portugal, I can be the king of Portugal. Don't worry." People started to feed a legend about the king would come back in a foggy morning. And I picked up that history and that legends, and I created, yes, the king is back in the foggy morning, but he's a zombie or an undead person. Recently, I've been working on a graphic novel, Umbigo do Mundo, that was launched late last year, and is a story set on a post-apocalyptic Europe, divided by a giant wall, and about a girl who has the power to change the future. So it's a little bit of a Mad Max style, time travel, Fifth Element kind of story. And I think it's one of a kind in our publishing scenario. And although Portugal is not known for its long tradition in speculative storytelling, and normally you can say that Portugal is known by the three F's, so férias, that is vacations in Portuguese, football, and fado. Fado is a traditional song about sadness, about death, about very lyric, very poetic, and you will. It's a very is a song that is very connected with the how the Portuguese culture is. But although we are known by férias, football, and fado, there's also more people writing stories, especially speculative fiction stories. I brought you some examples of Portuguese authors that have written in English, so you can understand them better. Bruno Martins Soares, that is a militaristic space opera, The Dark Sea War Chronicles. You can find it on Amazon or other international bookshop. Diana Pinguincha, A Curse of Roses. This is a very interesting book because she also picked up some history elements of Portugal. In this case, a queen that was later considered a saint, and she weaved a story about this queen being in love with the enemy, or with at the time Portugal was partially occupied by Muslims, and this queen is in love with a Muslim girl, and it's really interesting to see what kind of story can you create when you pick up some legends that your parents, your grandparents tell you. This queen, in particular, she's well known for a miracle that she was distributing bread by the poor people, and the king didn't like it, and went to her and say, "What are you doing? What are you distributing? Show me what you have in your bag." And she opened the bag and say, "It's roses, sir." And the bread turned into roses, so the king could not be mad at her. And Diana Pinguincha picked that and recreated this miracle in another way. It's really fun to read. Another author that is really interesting is Mário Seabra Coelho. He mainly publishes short stories in magazines, in international magazines. His stories are pretty dark and some humor onto it. They are very specific. Not everybody will like them, but I think they are very interesting, and you should give it a try. Another two other Portuguese authors that I would like to talk about is Felipe Melo and Juan Cavia. Juan Cavia is the one who does the drawings. Felipe Melo writes the stories, and is Dog Mendonça and Pizza Boy, that it was published in Dark Horse Comics, and is a story about an occult or urban fantasy detective in Lisbon. Really funny, really, it's really for laughs, and I think it's quite popular here in Portugal. And he was capable of amassing a lot of interest around these stories. From then on, he wrote other stories, other kind of comic books, and I would say he's one of the most sold Portuguese comic books in Portugal. Ricardo Pinto, although he's Portuguese by blood, he lived all his life in the UK and writes primarily in English. And he is now republishing his epic fantasy, The Masters. This epic fantasy is very unique. It has elements of Aztec culture and Maya culture, and mixes it with other normal medieval European fantasy. And the result is quite unique and really interesting. He's like, I would say he's the equivalent of Tolkien in Portugal, because he created a very detailed world around these masters. But I could talk you a lot more about other stories in Portugal. I have here some examples of Portuguese books. These ones are not translated into English, but to just give you an idea of what kind of covers and stories are being published right now. There's one that is translated into English that is José Saramago. José Saramago is the only Nobel Prize in Portugal. And although, if I say this close to a literature professor at university, they would kill me. But most of the books, or many books of José Saramago, are speculative fiction. For example, this one that I picked up to present to you, Intermitências da Morte, is about one day uh, the death doesn't kill anyone. So death is personified, and death doesn't kill anyone. And he imagines what would happen in Portugal. Oh, and just in Portugal. In the other parts of the world, the death is still working. Only in Portugal, death stopped working. And he imagines what would be in society if there was no death. And it's really interesting. And normally, I usually, when people say, "Oh, but that's not science fiction, that's not fantasy, Carlos, that's pure literature," I normally compare with Torchwood, that is a spin-off of Doctor who had exactly the same story. So about one day, by another reason, not the same reason as José Saramago, people stopped dying, and what would happen in society if that occurred? Later today, I will speak a little about these, the queer anthology of speculative fiction, and I hope you can join us at 6 o'clock Polish time. We have in Portugal, we also have some fan groups. There are few, but they are really active, and it's really fun to participate on in their activities. So I brought some of them here to present you. We have Liga Steampunk Lisboa, or the Lisbon Steampunk League. They do all kind of shenanigans related with steampunk activities, Nerf guns that are altered to look more steampunkish. And you will see later in this presentation, I will show you a festival where they participate on very particular. Another one that I believe that it should exist a similar group in almost all countries is the Portuguese Institute of Magic. That is a Wizarding World slash Harry Potter fan group. And they also organize a lot of activities. Of course, they are present when a new movie comes up, but they also organize activities for kids so they can experiment, try to live in the Harry Potter world. They do classes, they do the sorting hat ceremony. It's really, really fun, not only for kids, but also for adults. We are talking with them to see if we can do sort of a Quidditch game in one of the festivals I'm helping organizing in Portugal. And I was saying to them, "Oh yeah, the kids will love to do the a Quidditch game," and they say, "No, no. Normally, they are the adults who like rush to the front to do these kind of games." I say, "Okay, let's try it. Let's see what you got." We have a garrison of the 501st Legion. They dress up as Star Wars characters, and they normally do actions related with charity. For example, animating some blood donation. So they are doing the blood donation, and they are talking with the people, dress up, or to visit kids at hospitals, or even participating in other kind of events. They have a very good quality in their dress up, or let's say costumes. Costumes, that's the best word. And it's always amazing to see them. Is one thing is you seeing on television Darth Vader. The other thing is seeing Darth Vader passing in front of you with a bunch of stormtroopers falling around. It's quite powerful that moment. You feel that it's real and you are witnessing in life. Another group is the Silver Blade Academy. They are also related with Star Wars, and what they do mainly is train and create choreographies for lightsaber duels. It's almost a gymnastic group, but with a theme. It's their activities are really interesting because everybody wants to play with a lightsaber, and when they give the opportunity and they show you how to do the moves very similar of what you see in the movies, it's a magical moment, I think. And here, a very honorable mention. So they are not a fan group. They are more like an alternative circus slash cultural group. They have the Nirvana Studios. That it's an old military compound that they converted into an alternative culture studio for a lot of projects. They do shows almost every month, and every few months a different show. The shows are really pyrogenic with a lot of fireworks and a lot of steampunkish machines and a little bit of boulevard burlesque kind of show. They also convert and transform cars and trucks to look more like a mad. They come from a Mad Max universe, and they tour with these trucks and cars around. And when you enter the Nirvana Studios and you see all these cars there and all the props they created for their shows, you feel that you are entering on a Mad Max like world, and it's really immersive. Their shows are completely fantastic. It's like a Broadway show type of a spectacle with a very high quality. And I would like also to talk a little bit about some of our cons. So one of the cons I help organize is Festival Contacto. It has several kind of activities like a book fair, talks with authors, playing board games, also doing some live RPG sessions, like in some of others that are well known, and some more theoretical talks. In this Festival Contact, we normally invite all those fan groups that I talked previously, so they can have like a theme room and they do their own activities in that room. So you are in the festival, you enter a room, and all of a sudden you are in a steampunk universe with steampunk activities that you can do. And talking about steampunk, there's also a con that is organized in the Train Museum in Portugal. This train museum saw the potential of having all the steampunk activities and these custom circus shows, and also they mix up with people singing, with games, with models of train models. It's really fun how I would say a generalist festival turned into a steampunk festival, and it's really an event that mixes the speculative fiction with I would say the most common activities on other kinds of parties and events that municipality would organize. And I could not miss talking about Fórum Fantástico, one of the oldest cons in Portugal. Mainly, it has a fair book and 2 full days of talks of the various different things that are done in Portugal and abroad. Sometimes we have in Fórum Fantástico we have a tradition of bringing some foreign authors, and it's really an event that has been happening for a long time, which proves his success and his the capability of this event to always stay up to date of what people want to see and hear. And I will talk about 2 other bigger events. that are ComicCon. Of course, we have a version of the ComicCon in Portugal, and Iberanin, that is also a huge festival that is dedicated to most Oriental fiction. And to learn more, I would advise you to visit the Portuguese Portal. This is a website that is written in English about Portuguese speculative fiction, so you can learn a little bit of what is done here in Portugal, and if you have any suggestion or anything, the team is very open and they would like to hear from you. Another website that I would like to show you is Imaginauta, www.imaginealta.net. That is a project that I participate on, and we have two things that you may like, besides knowing more about the Portuguese speculative fiction. That we have a free short story in English from Marzina that I told previously. You just go there and you can download it for free. And we are preparing some years from now a national short story competition. So people from all over Portugal send their short stories. They are evaluated by a jury, and the best one is chosen. And the best one that is chosen is published both in Portuguese and in English. And our plan in the future is to bring these publications to cons in other countries to show a little bit of what we write here. So thank you everyone for listening, and I would love to hear your questions. I think Marzena has a question. Can you? I don't know how to put Marzena speaking.
I'm figuring it out.
Now?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Okay. Well, the same story that you told about that queen that was going for the poor with bread, and as his husband was unhappy about it, it's also here told
Really?
about, yeah, well, it wasn't queen, it was no princess, whatever, lower that king. I don't remember right now in English how you say duke, duchess.
Okay.
Then part of the problem was that those poor people was sick, so he was afraid that she will bring sickness to the castle.
Okay.
And about Jose Saramago, it's, well, like with the literature of Latin America, Cien Años de Soledad, etc. If someone is so afraid to tell that this is science fiction, just invents new ways of telling the same thing, like it's just magical realism or anything like that. Because yes, it's more or less urban fantasy.
Yeah, you can have different ways of saying it, but I think here what is interesting is why they are afraid to say, okay, this is good literature, this is a really good book, a really good story, and it uses fantasy or science fiction ideas and concepts, and they explore it. And I think that fear of saying that is fantasy or science fiction, it tells more about the people who have the fear than about the book itself.
Exactly. This is problem of critics, that of the authors, I think, because many, if it's something that someone that is very popular or very famous and has some awards in so-called mainstream, then wait, they will look for the way to don't use the F words
Yes,
like science fiction and fantasy.
exactly, exactly.
Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Marzina. Thank you. It was really interesting. Anyone has any question, any comment that you would like to discuss? Okay, so Sambor Mika said, "How can you read when you get to read those books?" So the English ones you can find really easily on the internet if you search for the names by the authors or by the book, you can find them. For example, the Dark Sea War Chronicles are e-books, so you can even download it. The Strange Horizons short stories, the Mario Seabra short stories, they are available in several websites. So if you really search for Mario Seabra Coelho, for example, on Strange Horizons or in Pseudopod, you can find the stories available to read easily. Um, about the Flip Melo, um, you can also search it, and the masters are available at Amazon. Dog Windows, I think you can find it in comic books abroad. It's a dark horse, so um, if it is not yet sold out, I think it will be very easy to find. These ones, the Portuguese ones, you would have to search for in a Portuguese like a Fnac.pt. It's like a very big brand, or even Wook. There are two main online vendors where you can find these books that are only in Portuguese. I should say that O Homem de Lugar Nenhum, this one, and the Apocryphus, the last one, they are they are they are comic books, but also all of them in Portuguese. You're welcome, Sambor. Oh, and also you can go to the website and you can download this short story. It's also available there for free for everybody to read. Thank you, thank you. And so if anybody has no more questions, I'm free. uh,
I think that there is no more questions, so see you on your next point of program. So the query tutor panel in an hour and a half. Okay.
and thank you very much for the invitation. And thank you everybody for coming.